It's fine. Okay, I'm going to call to order the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board meeting for August 26, 2026. Mount Diablo Unified School District records and broadcasts board meetings at the direction of the board. The recording or broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Our land acknowledgement. We recognize that the Mount Diablo Unified School District sits on the territory of the Confederated Villages of the Lishan, the ancestral and unceded land of the Bay Miwok and Northern Yukon, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Contra Costa County. As members of the Mount Diablo Unified School District community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we learn, but also we recognize that the land we inhabit and learn on is the ancestral land of these people who are alive and flourishing members of the Mount Diablo Unified School District and broader Bay Area communities today. Let the record also show that all board members are here, including our student trustee, Trustee Soto. So we will now do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, review and potential approval of minutes of the regular board meeting held August 12th, 2026.
Madam President, I move the board approve the minutes for August 12th, 2026 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Mayo, a second by Trustee McDougall. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes. We're waiting for the approval of the minutes, not the agenda. There we go. Does it want us to revote? And that passes 5-0 with consent of our student trustee. Okay. 6.5, review and potential approval of the agenda with 14.27 being pulled. Is that correct, Dr. Clark? That is correct.
Okay. We now have our report out of our closed session.
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion by Trustee Ndewi, a second by Trustee Lawrence. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And that passes 5-0 with consent from our student trustee. That takes us to existing litigation. In closed session, the board met with legal counsel to discuss the matter of existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1 by a vote of 5-0 in the matter of Grund versus Mount Diablo Unified School District, Contra Costa County Superior Court number C2502494. The board approved a settlement up to the stipulated amount and according to the settlement terms. The board met in closed session with legal counsel to discuss a matter of existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1 by a vote of 5-0 in the matter of DLH versus Mount Diablo Unified School District, Contra Costa County Superior Court case number C25-021. The board approved a settlement up to the stipulated amount and according to the settlement terms. Under anticipated litigation, the board met in closed session with legal counsel to discuss two matters of anticipated litigation
of significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2. In one case of anticipated litigation, the board, by a vote of 5-0, gave direction to the general counsel. Liability claim, the board met in closed session by a vote of 5-0, voted to reject a liability claim for damages pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.95 by Bancroft Dual Immersion Family Association and member families against the Mount Diablo Unified School District. And that was our closed session. Takes us to public comment. The public may address the board regarding any item not on the agenda. Public comment will also be allowed on each specific agenda item prior to board action thereon. In accordance with the Brown Act, the board may not take action or engage in dialogue on these items that are not on the agenda. Our public comment period lasts for 30 minutes. It is now 6:10. Our first is it Jaco Rodriguez?
Good evening. My name is Jocko Rodriguez. I have coached football in the Pleasant Hill community for over 25 years. I'm a former district employee who worked as a supervisor at College Park, a former College Park football coach, a parent of College Park graduates, a volunteer, a proud member of the class of 1989. I came here tonight to ask the board to help preserve a press box that was built by our community volunteers at the College Park football field this last spring. However, the press box was torn down by the district today. I've never seen the district move so quickly to complete a job. This press box filled a need for College Park and its community. The construction of this project has been requested from the district for years, only to be met with a repeated response that it would be looked into. On August 20th, Dr. Richardson sent out an email stating the district recently became aware of a wood frame structure that was constructed on the existing bleachers. That statement simply is not true and was released obviously to fit their agenda to remove the structure. The board needs to hold M&O and Dr. Clark accountable for this lie. The Monday following spring break, Dr. Richardson contacted the district to report the construction of an announcer's booth. That same week, Rory O'Connor, the district athletic compliance officer, and Melanie Coslow, head of M&O, came to College Park, met with administrators, and viewed the structure. The district was clearly aware of the booth shortly after it was built 4 months ago. The email also states that following an assessment, the district found the booth did not meet the structural review and approval requirements. When was this assessment completed? Earlier this month, district representatives came to CP, walked out to the field with Lance Hurtado, CP's athletic director. They were unable to access the booth because they did not have a key, so they just left. No assessment that day. Our students deserved better. They deserved a solution, not another disappointing roadblock by the district. After speaking with some of my contacts within M&O today, I was advised that the district's 2022 cost estimate listed a $100,000 press box for the district, and the facilities master plan showed a press box for College Park. However, one was never built by the district, and the one that was current was destroyed today. I find it disturbing that the district can create their own timeline of events to fit their agenda without taking in consideration the thousands of athletes this affects. The other thing that I find disappointing even more than that is that Dr. Richardson did not fight for our school, our students, our athletes, or our community. Tonight, we asked the board to direct the district to do the right thing, build a booth that they had budgeted for back in 2022. It's been long overdue, and I hope the board can see the inconsistencies that have been unraveling by the district within the past few weeks, if not years. We want to work towards a solution that's not only beneficial for our students, but also for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Bobrock.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Babcock. I am a mother of three, one College Park graduate, one current senior, and a fifth grader in MDUSD. I've served as co-head team parent for College Park football since 2022 through 3 administrations and multiple coaching staffs. Last week, I sent the board and Superintendent Clark a detailed letter documenting 16 years of history surrounding College Park's visitor bleachers and press facilities. This problem is not new, and I still have yet to receive a response from this last email. In 2010, voters approved the $348 million Measure C bond. College Park's visitor bleachers and press facilities were included in that plan. By 2014, the project was fully designed and construction ready, but was never built. Families raised the issue again in 2018, 2020, and 2022. Each time we were told it would be looked into. Meanwhile, other campus projects, including scoreboards, dugout, track, and shed, were approved and completed in roughly a year. So that tells us the issue is not simply capacity, it is prioritization. This spring, after years without a solution, our CP community built a press box themselves. It was removed just this morning. This was not our first community-built press box on that field. The most recent one was built in 2022, and it remained there for 4 years. There was no inspection, no public announcement or order to remove it. It was replaced by the improved structure built just this spring. So we are asking what changed. We understand the Field Act and the requirements of DSA review. We are not asking the district to ignore state safety laws. We ask the district in writing to work with us, inspect the structure, involve a licensed engineer, and determine whether it could be reinforced or certified. Instead, it was removed without a collaborative process, an alternative solution, or a timeline for what comes next. The operational consequences are immediate. At last week's football scrimmage and our flag football game, the scoreboard had to be operated from the side of a track. An extension cord could not reach the field, forcing a coach to run back and forth. Neither team had an appropriate location from which to film or announce. Our varsity home game opener is this Friday. And meanwhile, huddle filming equipment has reportedly been sitting at the district office since January. A work order has already exists to install it on a pole with access to power. So that is not a new funding request or a DSA request. It is unfinished project that needs to be completed. Tonight, we are asking for 4 specific actions. First, a written timeline and assigned district representative for permitted visitor bleachers and a press box. Second, a safe interim solution for scoreboard operation, announcing and filming before Friday. Third, installation of the existing huddle equipment without further delay. And fourth, a scheduled meeting with district representatives, coaches, and parent leaders to establish a transparent process and timeline for this and future facility projects. We are asking for a written follow-up, not another informal conversation and not another promise to look into it. These facilities serve more than just football. They support flag, band, choir, and other field sports in our community. Our students deserve facilities they can use
Thank
safely
you.
and take pride in.
Your time is up.
I
Thank
have
you.
like 10 more seconds. After 16
I'm
years,
sorry.
what we are asking for is reasonable partnership.
You all have 3
accountability,
minutes to
and
do
action.
public comment, and
Please tell
I
us
don't start it until after you say your
Yes.
name. So when we ask you to stop, we really do need you to stop. Thank you.
Next is Jane Balch Enlow.
Good evening, Superintendent, trustees, and community. My name is Jane Balch-Enlow, and I want to speak about an issue that affects not only student who needs additional support, but an entire classroom of children. As educators, we understand that some students have significant emotional, behavioral, or academic needs. We want to support those students with compassion and dignity, but we also have a responsibility to make sure all students have access to a safe and productive learning environment. There are situations where a teacher has to evacuate a classroom because one student has become unsafe or extremely disruptive. Imagine having to take 30 other children out of their classroom while that student remains behind and the classroom is left to be damaged or destroyed. Those 30 students are not simply leaving a room. They are losing valuable instructional time, and we all want to see our LCAP goals achieved. These teachers lose instructional time. The other students may lose their sense of safety and stability, and the student in crisis is not getting the support they need either. My daughter's high-functioning autistic. I know what it means to have a special needs child. This is why I believe we need to take a new look This is why I believe we need to look carefully at how quickly we identify students who need specialized programs or additional behavioral support, and how quickly we can get them into the appropriate, least restrictive environment. This is not about blaming a child, a parent, a teacher, or an administrator. It's about asking whether our current systems are responding quickly enough. As a 35-year educator, I've seen firsthand how early intervention and the right placement can change a child's experience at school. We should not wait until a situation reaches a crisis before determining that a student needs a different level of support. I would encourage the district to examine the timelines, resources, and processes we use to move students into programs that can meet their needs, while also protecting the learning environment for every child. Every student deserves the right support, and every classroom deserves the opportunity to learn. I have heard about these kinds of situations numerous times in our district, and it is concerning, especially in elementary school, where they have to get rid of the entire class, and that one student completely destroys our materials. And it takes months and months and months of documentation. I understand we need to document. I understand we need to give it due process, but I think we can move it a little quicker too. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Carmen Charonis? Welcome back.
Thank you. Um, Good evening, board members, Dr. Clark, on Diablo Unified School District community. I think most of you remember me, but those who don't, I'm Carmen Terrones. I am a MD USD retiree, 2 years now. I'm here this evening to express my dismay, and I'll be honest, I'm really upset to see the lack of respect this district shows to the Hispanic community. I am working part-time translating for various districts. And while fiscal responsibility is important, it should not come at the detriment of the Hispanic community. The use of AI is everywhere now, and I understand it's being used for translations. I was at a middle school in May, and I noticed they had the expanded learning program information in English. I requested to see the Spanish one, especially because that is a very Hispanic population. And this is what I found. All the yellow ones, misinformation, mistranslation, different meaning. Okay. Not only that, I saw another document. We're posted hand in hand next to each other, one in Spanish, one in English. The one in Spanish has nothing to do with the one in English, completely different information. Okay. My prior administrator, Dr. Stuckey, and I work in student services. Sometimes when we look at the board agenda and we notice documents that were translated not by the district translators or the agency, I review them. I notice mistakes. We'll call Laura, pull the flyer or information, whatever it was, correct it, and repost it. If they're going to use AI, go ahead. I understand the money needs to be used for something else more useful. But then have one of the district translators review it before it's printed and posted and distributed. This is an embarrassment. By administrators, I heard it when an administrator said to a parent, you'll get the notes of this meeting by the end of the day tomorrow. Please know we use Google Translate and it may have some errors. That's not acceptable. Okay. When another district administrator said once, and I heard it here, and I think that's one of the reasons I started thinking it's time for me to go, otherwise I'm going to get myself in trouble. When I heard this administrator said, I don't hear anyone complaining about it. Well, I am here today representing my community. This is an embarrassing. We are the district is in the field of educating. Thank you.
Thank you.
James, is it Eben or Elbin? Eben.
Good evening, board. My name is James Eben, and I serve as the labor relations representative for CSEA, many of our classified staff in this district. I'm here to talk about a few issues. First, I would ask that the board remind their human resources department that under Assembly Bill 119 and the CSEA contract, the district is required to provide us with employee information every month. We have not received a single report June, July, or August. I would also like to remind the board that each missing report does come with a potential fine of $10,000. So please, all that we ask is that you give us the information about our employees that we are entitled to and that you have agreed to. Additionally, I'm here to talk about some safety concerns that have come up within the district. We're a few weeks into school, and every single day, an assistant has been injured. Specifically, the new bridge program at Loma Vista is of significant concern. To my knowledge, every employee, I believe, if not most of them in that room, have been injured in the first few weeks of school. This is a program specifically for 18 to 22-year-old individuals. These are adults. At least one student in that classroom is larger than many of our assistants, and we have had assistants be held down and choked in the classroom. Our staff are, at this point, most have been injured and have been assaulted themselves. And if they haven't been, they are sitting there wondering when it is going to happen to them. This is not acceptable. Additionally, related to this similar issue, just this year, many of our assistants have been approached by administration stating that the district has adopted a new hands-off policy and that our staff are not supposed to touch students at all, despite the fact that they have been CPI trained specifically about restraining students when necessary. Our staff are being disciplined simply for blocking students from eloping, standing in the way, are now facing discipline. It is extremely concerning that our staff are being told that even in situations where students are eloping and or are assaulting members of your staff, that they are not to intervene at all and they are to remain hands off. Many of our staff have not received any clarification around the district's change this year to that hands-off policy and are now facing discipline for a process that they were not even informed about. And so I would again ask that you work with your administrators to provide us with clarity and maybe take an example from some other districts across the nation. I would encourage you to have your administrators sub. We have people out that are injured. Put them in the classroom and let them experience this because people are being injured extremely frequently. Thank you.
Just a point of order for our speaker in the future, that if you speak under 9.0, which is for district organizations, you have no time limit.
Okay, that concludes our public comment. Now we're on communications, which my fellow board member was just referring to. District organizations at regular board meetings, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation. Items are limited to those which are informational. Kim Montano.
Good evening, Superintendent, board members, and members at large. I'm here on behalf of CSEA. My name is Kim Montano. I'm a 26-year employee, paraeducator of this beautiful district where I went to school and my children as well attended. I'm here tonight, as James had said, with deep concerns about the safety of our employees. Many of them are CPI trained, but I want to let many people know who may be unaware is a 2-hour video and then 2 3-hour classes. Okay, that's about 8 hours total, one time a year. That doesn't make them experts. You learn something one time, doesn't mean you're going to retain it. A lot of people are afraid to use it, even though they've been taught it. I'm concerned about the lack of having more training. It is huge. We are, again, having lots of employees being hurt. One was choked the other day, and then 2 days later, that same student shoved a employee down. So we need to do something. How are we going to protect our employees? It is very hard to save people in the paraeducator system because you get kicked, bit, spit. Now we're getting choked, shoved down on the ground. How are you guys going to help us? We need help. We need training. You know, I get told all the time, what can we do to retain these employees? Well, hello, I understand students have rights. I fully understand that. But what about our employees? They're giving it their all day in, day out. They need help and they need lots of training, not one time a year. It needs to happen more frequently for these employees that are in these high profile case classrooms. And we all know there's many of them. There's more now than there has ever been in MDOSD history that I can recall in 26 years. Okay. So my thing is what are y'all going to do to help protect our employees? Those are vital employees. You can't run the schools without teachers, custodians, bus drivers. We're a team. We're all out there for the same reason, but we need help. And I can't stress it enough. And I know we're working on having a professional development day, and I would like to see that a few times a year. That way, many people can be trained. I know they are limited on how often they can offer these trainings. We understand that, but come on, help us out to help our students to have a safe environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Ortega?
Good evening, President Mason, trustees, Dr. Clark, members of the audience. Today is the 15th day of school. By now, most students and educators have settled in their routines. Many of the school sites already had or will have back to school night. When I was in the classroom, I always welcomed parents as this was an opportunity to introduce myself and to discuss the school year's expectations. It was always nice to see returning parents and to have the opportunity to have another member of their family in my classroom. For the parents who are listening, thank you for supporting your child and for working with your child's teacher. As we all know, it takes many to educate and encourage a child nowadays. From caregivers, educators, school staff, bus drivers, cafeteria staff, and more, we all take part in our children's educational journey. In regards to my work as the Medea president, we have filed several EERAs, or Educational Employment Relations Act notices, several grievances, and we have received many adverse working condition forms from our members. At present, we are still waiting for some responses from these submissions. Once again, I notice that there are several district employee appointments on the agenda. I'm asking, are these positions necessary? How do they support our students? I bring this up because since school started, I have been informed that some of my classrooms are in need of extra assistance. And I was glad to hear two previous speakers because this also has been affecting my teachers. I had a teacher within the week who sent me pictures of her face being scratched by a little one. And I'm very concerned about that. So we need help in our littles. Some of our kiddos are needing extra help adjusting to school. Sometimes a student needs a break, but who is going to come to help out? I am not sure if you know, but our kindergarten classes have one teacher with 31 students. That's a lot of students, a lot of other different needs that come with different backgrounds. For one adult in that classroom, it makes it very difficult. And if one of them is having a meltdown, how is that teacher going to take that child aside and comfort them? And what do you do with the other ones? That's what we're concerned with. We didn't set this up. It's just this has been happening. We're 15 days into school, and I am hearing more and more of this going on. I'm also hearing from our special education members. Classes are still in need of aides. Every time one of my teachers asks, when will they get an aide? Or if one is out because they're sick or whatever reason, where is the substitute? The answer they always get is the district is looking to fill the position or they can't find a substitute. So then what happens? That leaves the classroom without an extra support. And I am wanting to work with the district. I'm still trying to get some resolves, but my teachers are getting hurt as well. So we need to work better and smarter and try to fill these positions. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to remind members of the community that there is an important election coming up. Please remember to vote. There are many important measures on the ballot and candidates that have committed their work to support our students, our schools, and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to recognitions and resolutions. 10.1, review and potential approval of resolution 26/27 in recognition of Suicide Prevention Month.
Great. Thank you, Madam President. And just to remind the audience, we do resolutions to send a message out to our students and to our employees and to our families and to the community at large of certain issues that as a board and as a district that we support and stand behind. So the first resolution this evening is resolution 26/27-1, which is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, which is in September. So whereas suicide is one of the leading causes of death among youth ages 10 to 14, and while it remains a serious public health concern, suicide is preventable through increased awareness, timely intervention, and access to mental health resources. So now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District proclaims the month of September as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and reaffirms a commitment to fostering mental wellness and safety across all school communities. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education encourages families, caregivers, and community partners to join in supporting suicide prevention efforts and in prompting student mental health and resilience. Madam President, I now leave this in the hands of the board.
Thank you, Dr. Clark.
Madam President, I'd like to move that we approve this resolution 26/27-01 in recognition of Suicide Prevention Month.
Second.
We have a motion by trustee McDougall, a second by trustee Mayo. Student trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
That passes 500 with approval from our student trustee. 10.2, review and potential approval of resolution 26/27 in recognition of Deaf Awareness International Week of Deaf People, September 21st through the 27th, 2026, and International Day of Sign Language, which is September 23rd, 2026.
Yes, and so we have a large deaf population here in Mount Diablo, and actually many students from around the area visit Mount Diablo to come to our schools, and so of course we are very supportive of this resolution. So whereas the deaf community includes a diverse range of individuals, including those who are culturally deaf and use American Sign Language, ASL, as their primary language, as well as individuals who are deaf, blind, or hard of hearing, and who may use a variety of communication methods and technologies, including hearing aids, implants, assistive listening devices, and augmentative and alternative communications. And so now, therefore, be it resolved that the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District hereby proclaims September 2026 as Deaf Awareness Month, specifically the week of September 21st to the 27th as International Week of Deaf People, and September 23rd, 2026 as the International Day of Sign Languages. Madam President, I now leave this in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move the board approve resolution 26/27-03, Deaf Awareness Month, International Week of Deaf People, and International Day of Sign Languages.
I'll
as
second that.
presented.
We have a motion by trustee Mayo, a second by, I think, trustee McDougall. How do you vote, trustee Soto?
Yes.
And that passes 500 with consent from our student trustee. Okay, 10.3, review and potential approval of resolution 2627, September as Attendance Awareness Month. Dr. Clark.
Yes, this is another very important initiative in our district, as well as districts all around us and throughout the country. If students aren't at school, then they can't learn and they can't take advantage of the social interactions with their peers and being around trusted adults, and also the meals in which we serve. So resolution 26/27-05, September as Attendance Awareness Month. Whereas daily attendance is essential to student achievement and graduation, and we are committed to dedicating our attention to ensuring that all students have access to rich and supportive learning opportunities in all instructional settings. And so now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District proclaims that our schools will stand with the nation in recognizing September as Attendance Awareness Month. We hereby commit to our continued focus on reducing chronic absenteeism to give all students an equitable opportunity to be here, be ready, belong, and learn, grow, and thrive academically, emotionally, and socially. And before I place this resolution in the hands of the board, I do believe that Ms. Buscemi has a short presentation or a few things she would like to say about attendance. Oh, presentation.
All right, good evening. Dr. Clark, President Mason, trustees, and our student trustee. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak about something that's very near and dear to my heart, which is attendance awareness. So this very short presentation is going to focus on an overview of chronic absenteeism, introduce our attendance campaign for this month, and then also show some examples and spotlight how we're communicating with our families. Our LCAP goals, you guys see these all the time. But I feel like Attendance Awareness Month really does speak to LCAP Goal 3 and how we can partner with our parents and do this work to get our kids to school. And speaking of partnerships, I don't know if you're aware that both the Contra Costa County Office of Education and Attendance Works has been working collaboratively with Pupil Services to network, share best practices so that we can work together to improve and reduce chronic absenteeism. And again, I just want to make sure that everybody knows what chronic absenteeism is and the difference between chronic absenteeism and truancy. In the past, there's really been a focus on reducing truancy really through punishment. And students are considered truant once they have 3 unexcused absences, where chronic absenteeism, it doesn't matter whether the absences are caused by excused or unexcused reasons. Data shows that when students miss too much school, it negatively impacts their learning. So students are identified as being chronically absent when their attendance drops to 90% or below. Attendance Works, again, has provided some data to really emphasize the importance of why we should shift our focus to chronic absenteeism. And did you know it starts in kindergarten? If kindergartners are identified as being chronically absent, 59% of them will not be able to read on grade level at the end of 3rd grade. When they're in 6th grade, chronic absence is one of 3 key indicators that can predict that they may drop out of school. And by 9th grade, when they enter high school, attendance is actually a better indicator of their ability to graduate than their 8th grade test scores. In my team, we work with our child welfare attendance liaisons, and they are boots on the ground. They're going out, they're meeting and greeting, and I'm sure you guys have seen them and worked with them. They're amazing people. And at the end of last year, we're trying to do things differently. And so we asked them to go out and conduct these empathy interviews with our exiting 12th graders and some of our 11th graders who had been struggling with absenteeism. And I did use ChatGPT to help, give us the themes and the trends. But the positive thing is that all of those kids were able to identify adults at school that they trusted and made them feel seen and made them feel valued. But all of those kids also wish that the adults had dug in a little deeper and asked some questions to really identify what their issue was and actually take action to help them. So keeping that in mind, it shows how positive relationships truly do impact attendance. The kids are craving those positive relationships. And If one of those 4 areas is missing, that negatively impacts, that's what causes kids to be absent. So if they don't feel that sense of connection and belonging, if they're worried about their physical or emotional safety and well-being, if the academics are too challenging for them and they don't know how to access those academics, and if the adults around them don't have that social emotional competency to support them. So with that in mind, we're launching our attendance campaign, and our theme is to be here, be ready, belong. And we're really going to leverage communication to help build community across our district. And I know Dr. Clark has shown that picture before, and I love it too. Those are our College Now graduates from last year, so representing all of our schools, all of our high schools. And how are we going to do this? We need to follow a systematic approach. We are a gigantic district. So following the MTSS approach, tier 1, everybody gets that. Tier 2, now we're targeting on some specific needs. And the tier 3 are really intensive supports. For this attendance awareness campaign, we want to focus on tier 1. What's good for all? So creating that safe, warm, welcoming environment, and how can we celebrate and really promote the importance of attendance? So starting with being here, at the very beginning of this year, we shifted. In the past, we did what was called warm body counts, and we're counting all the kids who were present, running those numbers. Of course, we still took attendance, but we really focused on the kids who were absent, who wasn't there. And we engaged in student re-engagement outreach, calling, emailing, connecting with those kids, and getting them back to school. We also have even more data at our fingertips this year than ever before. Data that's not just giving us information, but that we can act upon. So ARIES is our student information system that feeds information into EduClimber, which is an overarching umbrella that has academic data, behavioral data, and attendance data. But this year we're adding on Parent Square Attendance Plus so that we're giving actionable items for attendance. And Parent Square, think of it as a communication platform, but it gives us data that we're able to see. This is a week old, mind you, but this is an actual snapshot of data from our district. So we still are hovering above a 96% attendance rate, which sounds great. But when you drill down and look at that tier 3, tier 4, the kids who are already identified as chronically absent, it was 19% last week. This week, it's like around 12%. So it's already improving because the kids, if they keep attending, that's going to improve. At the school level, so that was at the district level. At the school level, our leaders, our office staff, they are able to directly communicate with our families in a method that the families will respond. I was on the phone live or on Zooms live or Google Meets with some of our school sites where they're sending out a message, and for the first time in a long time, they were getting responses from parents, and you get that opportunity to engage in dialogue. These are some examples from right around the corner of some of our schools that are already starting to promote attendance on our marquees. And it just, to me, shows that it's important from the outside all the way to the inside, as soon as the kids are walking up to school, to show them that they're welcome and to, again, shout out how important it is for them to be here. And I also included some examples of newsletters from our elementary schools and also our secondary schools that are already really calling out and trying to partner with our parents to make sure that kids are at school on time. And ultimately, in closing, it really takes a village. It takes all of us working together. I really appreciate all of the resolutions that were before you today, because it really highlights the beauty and the diversity that we celebrate in our district. From our board, thank you for recognizing it. From our teachers in our classroom to our office staff, our custodians, our aides, all centered around, we have a food service department and our transportation department to support these beautiful kids and to try to do the best that we can to help them thrive. So please join me in the effort. I hope that you do approve and support the resolution to show our community that at MDUSD, we do support our kids to be here, be ready, belong. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So I will entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move the board approve Resolution 2627-05 with September as Attendance Awareness Month.
Second.
We have a motion by trustee Mayo, a second by trustee Lawrence. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
Passes 500 with concurrence from our student trustee. 10.4, review and potential approval of resolution 2627-6, recognizing September 15th, 2026 through October 15th, 2026 as Hispanic Heritage Month. Dr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam President. Whereas the month of September 15th to October 15th was designated as Hispanic Heritage Month by the United States Congress in 1988. Whereas the huge and significant impact of Hispanic and Latino cultures and their centuries-old traditions are manifested in the achievements, customs, and laws of this state and nation. Whereas whereas students of Hispanic and Latino origins make up approximately 42% of the population of the Mount Diablo Unified School District, and the state of California is home to over 3.2 million Hispanic students from kindergarten through grade 12, who make up 56% of the state's student population. So now therefore be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District Governing Board hereby recognizes, honors, and celebrates the many contributions, heritage, and history of Hispanics, Latinos, Latinas, and Latinx people during our annual commemoration and proclamation of Hispanic Heritage Month, and encourages all schools and classrooms to commemorate this occasion with appropriate instructional materials. Madam President, I now leave this resolution in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move the board approve Resolution 2627, recognizing September 15th, 2026 through October 15th, 2026 as Hispanic Heritage Month.
Second.
We have a motion from trustee Lawrence, a second from trustee Soto. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that passes 500 with concurrence from our student trustee. That takes us to 10.5, review and potential approval of board resolution 26277 for personnel and provisional internship permits. Dr. Clark.
Mr. Sheehy's going to do this item.
So this next item is the provisional internship permit. And so this allows candidates who more time to meet the requirements to enter into an internship program. And so tonight before you, we have two individuals looking for a professional internship permit.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve Resolution 2627-7, provisional internship permits.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Nzewi, a second by trustee Mayo. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
That passes 500 with concurrence from our student trustee. Review potential approval of resolution 26/2708, intent to grant utility easement to Pacific Gas and Electric Company at 2326 Viso Lane, Concord. Dr. Clark.
Yes, and we have Melanie Kozlow and Chris Lepe, who are in joint partners in this venture. So I'm going to turn this resolution over to them.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight, the board is being asked to approve resolution of intent to grant PG&E a utility easement over the limited portion of district property at 2326 Bissell Lane in Concord. The proposed easement is approximately 830 square feet and is located on the eastern portion of the property adjacent to 242 and Concord Avenue off-ramp. This will allow PG&E to install, operate, maintain, and access underground utility lines and overhead utility lines and associated equipment. The easement is directly related to the electric vehicle school bus charging infrastructure and is on the parcel adjacent to the property the board previously approved the easement for back in 2020. This additional easement is now required by PG&E to support the infrastructure growth for our plan to drive into a cleaner future. Tonight's board does not grant the actual final easement. Under Ed Code, this is a two-step process, and this is just our intent to declare the easement. We will be returning on September 9th or at a future board meeting for a public hearing, at which time the board will receive any public comment and then can consider the resolution for the easement.
If I recall, I think you said our bus fleet is approximately 25% electric. Does that sound close to?
The number's 24 right now. 24
24%?
vehicles out of 110.
Okay, and are you increasing that percentage?
We will. Yes.
Okay,
With grants, we will increase that percentage. Yes.
okay, so these are charging stations for those buses then that we're getting an easement for?
Correct. Prior, we had gotten grants for 3 transit buses, and we did not ask for infrastructure. We're going to a level 3 charging stations. That's what this is. So they granted us those charging stations for those vehicles and future growth.
So how are you charging the vehicles now?
We have 16 level 2 chargers, and then we have they call mobile chargers around the yard. So it's a game of just
spot.
moving the walnuts around.
Yep, okay.
I move the board approve Resolution 2627, number 8, declaring the district's intent to grant a utility easement to PG&E over a portion of the district's owned property located at 2326 Bissell Lane, Concord, APN 112-211-043-8.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Mayo, a second by trustee Lawrence. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And that passes 500 with concurrence from our student board member. Okay, public employee appointments, the fun part, right?
Yes. Let me
Want me
take
to
it.
go
Okay,
review
no,
potential
got it.
approval
Yeah.
of certificated personnel appointment principal at Shadelands and Sunrise Center.
Yes, and we have Dr. Emmendorfer will take this item.
Good evening, Madam President, Trustees, Superintendent Clark. The Human Resources Department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval the appointment of Carrie Buchek as principal of Shadelands and Sunrise Centers. Carrie has been working in school mental health and special education programs for 25 years, including 21 years in MDUSD's Social Emotional Educational Collaborative SEEK programs. She has served students and families in MDUSD in the roles of school psychologist, mental health clinical specialist, wraparound facilitator, and most recently, SEEK program administrator. Carrie is a licensed marriage and family therapist and a licensed educational psychologist holding 2 related master's degrees in counseling. Carrie's spouse is also an MDUSD employee, and outside of work, they enjoy spending time traveling with their 2 teenage boys, one who is soon transitioning to college. Carrie is thrilled to be expanding her leadership journey within the MDUSD family. With that, I leave this appointment in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move that the board appoint Carrie Buchek as principal at Shadelands and Sunrise Centers.
Second.
We have a motion by trustee Lawrence, a second by trustee Mayo. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that passes 500 with consent from our student trustee. Congratulations.
Good evening, distinguished board members, Dr. Clark. I am so grateful to be standing before you with such an important position. When I started in 2005, I was hired by Dr. Mildred Brown, specifically tasked to prepare myself to step into the leadership of the Alliance program, which is one of our high school SEEK programs. And at the time, it was one of 2 in the district, along with Sunrise School. I really want to acknowledge at this time the district mental health team, leadership team, the MUDSPA leadership, and all of our district therapists and special educators who have helped grow these programs into the 7 distinguished SEEK programs that we have in the district today, serving our students in special education. I also want to thank Dr. Clark and Dr. Gilly for valuing and seeing my work and trusting me with this very important position. I want to thank my family who's always here to support me and for the incredible mentorship in my administrative journey of leadership, Jessica Pozos and Jenny Vargas. Thank you. This is a deep privilege and honor to be serving our students in this new role.
Thank you and congratulations. Okay. Review and potential approval of a certificated personnel appointment for school support administrator, Dr. Clark.
The Human Resources Department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval the appointment of Jennifer Vargas as School Support Administrator. Jennifer began her career in education in 1992 with the MDUSD at Bel Air Elementary. Throughout her tenure there, she had multiple roles, including special day class teacher, general education teacher, reading specialist, Title I coordinator, and after-school program coordinator before serving as vice principal. Her administrative leadership continued as vice principal at Shore Acres Elementary before becoming principal at Westwood Elementary, where her commitment to excellence was recognized when the school earned the Distinguished School Award in 2008. Currently, she is in her 22nd year as a school principal. For the last 14 years, she proudly led Sunrise Social Emotional Educational Collaborative and Shaitland Special Education Preschool, where Sunrise was recognized with the California School Boards Association Golden Bell Award in 2022. Jennifer's educational philosophy is grounded in a fundamental belief: when you meet students and families where they are and build authentic relationships with them, anything is possible. This relationship-centered approach continues to drive her commitment to supporting the education of all students in MDUSD. Jennifer holds a Bachelor of Science in Child Development from California State University, Fullerton, and a Master of Science in Education with an emphasis in reading from California State University, East Bay. Her credentials include multiple subject, special education, reading specialist, and administrative services. When Jennifer is not at school, she enjoys spending time with her 3 daughters, their partners, 2 grandchildren, and close friends. She enjoys traveling, cooking, and hiking. With that, I leave this appointment in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move the board approve the appointment of Jennifer Vargas as School Support Administrator.
Second.
We have a motion by trustee Mayo, a second by trustee Nzewi. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that passes 500 with approval. And I would just like to say I had the good fortune to work with Miss Vargas at Bel Air for several years, and I think I was a better person for it. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Clark, board members. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am honored to join this team and continue to serve the Mount Diablo community, as is already has been shared. But this is my 35th year in this district, and I attended school in this district, Fair Oaks, Sequoia, and YV, and my 3 daughters attended Mount Diablo schools. So I am deeply committed to the work and to serving students, and I'm very excited to be doing this in a different capacity and really serving the greater community. So thank you, and I thank my family and my friends and my wonderful colleagues who are also my friends for always supporting me in everything I do. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam President, I just want to say that that those last 2 hires are key positions within our district, and our entire special education department. They do incredible work. Oftentimes, they don't get the recognition or the respect that they truly deserve. But I know that the parents who send their precious students to our schools can rest assured that our team is going to do the very best they can, just as they would with any other kid, to ensure that they have a very productive and positive experience within our schools. So I really want to thank those 2 and thank the whole team.
Thank you. Okay.
11.3, review and potential ratification of a personnel appointment for Executive Director of Fiscal Services.
Yes. And
Thank you, Madam President, Superintendent, trustees. The Human Resources Department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval the appointment of Brenda Barbara as Executive Director of Fiscal Services. Next month marks Brenda's 20th year in education. Her roles in education finance evolved from a school office setting to managing department budgets, including special education and educational services, as well as serving as an internal auditor as a CBO. Brenda holds a bachelor's degree in business administration as well as a CBO certification. Brenda is excited for the opportunity to continue learning and growing within MDUSD. With that, I leave this appointment in the hands of the board.
Madam President, I'd like to move that we ratify the personnel appointment of Executive Director Fiscal Services, Brenda Barbera.
Second.
We have a motion by trustee McDougal, a second by trustee Soto. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
Five zero zero with concurrence from our student.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. It is a great honor to be here and to continue serving for the district. I take a lot of pride in doing the work that I do for public finance, and I'm excited and grateful to continue being allowed the opportunity to grow, learn, and be a part of this district and collaborating with the team that we have that supports the work for our students. I'd also like to thank my family for their support, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do the work that I do. So they're here with me today, and I'm just very, very honored, very appreciative of this opportunity, and I thank each one of you.
will you introduce your family?
Yes, so my husband and my son, Julian. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you and congratulations. Okay, 11.4, review and potential approval of classified personnel appointment, Director of Budget, Accounting, and Fiscal Compliance. Dr. Clark.
Ms. Medina Estrada will take this item.
Thank you. The Human Resources Department is bringing for the board's review and potential approval the appointment of Christopher Raimundo as Director, Budget Accounting, and Fiscal Compliance. Christopher has been a school business professional who has proudly served the education community for over 2 decades. He began his career in school business as an accounting assistant, doing accounts payable for Antioch School District. He has held advisory roles at both the Contra Costa and Alameda County Offices of Education. Christopher holds a bachelor's degree in finance as well as a CBO certification. Christopher is a proud father and dance dad to Chloe, and a supportive husband to his wife, Missy, who is a dedicated elementary school teacher. With that, I leave this appointment in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move the board approve the appointment of Christopher Raimundo as classified, as Director of Budget, Accounting, and Fiscal, whatever, it's cut off. There it is. Fiscal Compliance.
Second.
I apologize.
Second that.
Okay, so we had a motion by trustee Mayo. Was that second by trustee McDougal? Okay. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that passes 500.
Good evening, Board President, Board, and Superintendent. Thank you very much for this opportunity. When I first interviewed and came in through the doors, it felt like I was coming home. So it was just, that home warm feeling in here. And as I think about it, I was actually born in Concord, California, over at John Muir. And my parents, before I was born, they lived around the corner of those first apartments you come down on Will Pass. So it's just, that was always kind of been part of my story. So every step of my career, all the way from starting at accounts payable, all the way to doing the fiscal oversight and advisory over at the county level, it is all that experience has brought me here today to help serve this district. So I'm excited to start working with this team and all the district leaders within the district, and just to bring all that experience to here. Um, I have my wife. She's a teacher. We've been kind of been, since we first started our careers, I was on the school business side, and she's been in the education. So we've kind of hand in hand had that within our household and our family. And my little girl, she's not here today. She's out doing a fundraiser for the local high school with dance. So I'm excited, and thank you very much for this opportunity. And I can't wait to get to work and do everything that I can do for this district. Welcome. All right.
Welcome and thank you. Okay, going right to board member reports. Would you like to start with us off this year or this time, Trustee Soto?
Love to start. All right.
You can wait a minute.
Everybody,
It's not you. It's not.
Wait a second, I get the mic.
Do we want to wait or?
I'm starting to think if you want to clear the room, just say it's time for the board members to speak. That's okay. We'll give Dr. Clark a minute. He'll come back in. Or not.
He can hear out there.
Hmm?
He can hear out there.
All right. So I can say this meeting so far has been one of the funner ones. I've watched a lot of the past meetings to see how it goes, and I'm having a great time today. This is awesome. Everybody's so happy. This is awesome. But since the last meeting, it feels like it's been longer than 2 weeks. I've done a lot of work with our sports medicine program. We had a scrimmage against Liberty at our school. So it was a lot of pushing to get everybody ready. A lot of new volunteers this year. Last year, we only had 8 people at our sports medicine signups. This year, we had over 32 people show up to sign up for our sports medicine program. It got to the point to where I had to tell people they couldn't come to the room because it was just going to be too packed and there was going to be nothing for them to do, right? Um, I worked, I had a lot of conversations with our school principal, Dr. McCain, about this new position I have. Me and him had, whether it was like just during lunch, me and him had a few conversations. I also spoke to the people who came to make sure all our schools had books. I believe his name was Mr. Chris, if I remember. And then I met with my counselors about the new position. I'm trying to have as much support as I can. I met with the superintendent. We went over the agenda for this meeting because everybody on the board has given me so much support with easing in and allowing me to really understand what I'm reading and what I'm voting on. And I believe that is it. So thank you guys. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Trustee McDougal, you want to go next?
Okay. Only had a couple of weeks here, but it was quite busy. Made a quick trip up to Portland to see my great granddaughter, Madeline. She's doing well. And up Friday, back Sunday. So it was a lot of driving, but enjoyed seeing our granddaughter. On the 19th, went for a training session for Kids Club, which is a Christian group that meets right next door to Pleasant Hill Elementary. And they have started their program today. This was the training session for it last week. And on Wednesdays, which is the early release time for Pleasant Hill Elementary, the kids come over, and we had 80 kids today come over for the start of the Kids Club. On the 20th, I went to back to school night at Rocket Ship Futuro Academy. Quite a large enrollment over there, 675 students in a K-5 program. And they have a waiting list, they mentioned. I always enjoy the high energy level they exhibit. They are looking forward to recertification by this board in February, March, and I hope we do that. Then on the 20th as well, I also attended the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee meeting at Mount Diablo Elementary. We toured the property before the meeting. I had seen it when they introduced the school at the beginning of the school year last year, but it was good to see that they are still finishing up that program. They did have a quorum, which was good. They can always transact business then. And I had to leave early, unfortunately. On the 24th, which was Monday, we started our classic homeschool one-day program in Concord. So now we're back to homeschooling full time with my grandkids. On the 25th, yesterday, I celebrated my wife and I's 48th wedding anniversary. So hope to do something with her soon on that one. And finally, I want to mention that I will have a town hall on September 14th at the Concord Library. We have the odd hours of 6:45 p.m. to 7:45 because they want us out before they close the doors at 8 o'clock. That's September 14th, Concord Library. At our last board meeting, I was told I needed to provide proof of my claims about why I voted against the social emotional learning curriculum. I researched the claims. One was usurping the parental authority that social emotional learning does, and age inappropriateness of some of the SEL content. And I compiled a report of my research and will now hand it out to the board to show what I was talking about. So there are 5 copies here. Sorry, I didn't get one for you. Well, the doc.
Can we?
I don't think you can accept this. This isn't on the agenda, and I think it likely violates the Brown Act.
Okay, I'm done.
Trustee Lawrence?
Yep. So I went and visited Woodside Elementary and had a tour. Got to see the kindergarten two-way dual immersion class that's there with a very talented teacher who came over from Bancroft, and just phenomenal to see that. I've long felt that Woodside is kind of a hidden gem within our school district. Fantastic community. I did also have the opportunity last night to address their PFC. They have a strong board and strong community. I also attended and did a visit at Mount Diablo Elementary. As we heard at our last board meeting, there has been some turmoil at that school. I met with the principal. I had an opportunity to talk to some of the teachers, some of the staff, and some of the families during that visit. I think it does the school looks great after the renovation, seeing the library. And I think that there is work that needs to be done within the community. Mount Diablo Elementary has always had a very strong parent community and strong PFC. They've done a lot of fundraising to help support the school. And, you know, I separately met with a group of several times with groups of parents from Mount Diablo Elementary. And I think the theme that I hear across the board is that everyone is committed to how do we move forward? How do we create a great environment for the kids? And there will be work to be done on the PFC and how that will be restructured. But you know, I'm confident that if we continue to keep the focus on kids and building community, that will end in a good place there. And then very excited to report that Northgate has their new field installed. They will have a football game on Friday night, but the very first game to take place is tonight, which was a flag football game, JV. My sources tell me a certain quarterback threw a touchdown, and then she threw a second touchdown in the last minute to make it a one-score game, but in a close-fought game, Northgate narrowly lost to Alameda, but fantastic to see. I think the students are all very excited to have the new field. Big thank you to everyone who sped that process up to make that possible. And then looking forward to what I'm sure will be a great night for on Friday night for the football team. So thank you.
Thank you. On August 18th, on Tuesday, I attended the Special Education Community Advisory Committee meeting at 7 p.m. At each meeting, during the first half hour, a presentation about special education and Mount Diablo services is presented. Parents, caregivers, and community members may participate in this presentation and ask follow-up questions on Zoom. Dr. Aguili presented an overview of the district programs and services. These PowerPoints are posted on the CAC webpage after each meeting. The CAC business meeting continued until 9 p.m. in the evening. Parents and caregivers are welcome to attend the business meeting in person and contribute to the discussions and the decisions being made. The September 15th meeting topic is what is an IEP? Collaborative conversations, rights, and responsibilities. And you always learn something at these meetings. So I encourage people to come, even though they may not have a special education student. On August 20th, I did attend the Measure J meeting. It was well attended, and as Trustee McDougall said, they met the quorum. The members visited multiple classrooms to view the modernization project results that occurred on the Mount Diablo Elementary campus. And I believe that some of the members, this was their first opportunity to view it. I was excited to see the bright colors, the new furniture, the painting at the school, because I can remember, because of my experience, what some of the older buildings looked like, even the wooden ones that looked like barracks. One member's daughters attended the site years ago, and he was as impressed as I was. Afterward, the members received information from staff and began their work on their 24-25 report to the Board of Education. I just wanted to mention that the Pleasant Hill Community Service Day is September 17th, which begins with a Lions Club pancake breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning. Afterwards, volunteers travel to a volunteer location of their choice, which include many of our schools in the Pleasant Hill community. So I encourage members to roll up their sleeve, visit the Pleasant Hill website, and volunteer at one of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Nzewi?
Good evening. Yesterday, after I met with Dr. Clark, but maybe like 2 hours later, I had back to back to back. This is relevant. Back to back to back to back meetings. So I was on Zoom all freaking day. But I looked down at my phone and I have this text in all caps from my child, and she had sent it a couple hours earlier, and it just said Dolly Parton dies in all caps. And I'm like, oh no, much like most of the decent world. And I knew, I felt it for myself. I'm going to get to the point. I felt it for myself, but knowing my child, I knew that how much she, like someone at 18, how much she loves Dolly Parton and how passionate she is. But it's not because Dolly Parton is an amazing entertainer, really talented woman. I don't think the only reason my child knows about 9 to 5 is because there's a Broadway musical 9 to 5. But what I know that is devastating about that loss to my daughter is because how much she admires and loves people who love people, people who are passionate about others' humanity. And that's evidence in the other people that I know she admires greatly and deeply, and people that we've especially loss. Like she was even moved by Jimmy Carter's loss, or just think of people who have really impacted this world in positive ways, but primarily because they're people who really deeply they show through their actions and words how they value people's everyone's humanity. And Miss Ortega encouraged everyone to vote. And so I shared that story to say everyone should vote, and everyone should consider how people live like Dolly Parton or others who really value every student's humanity in Mount Diablo, every staff members, every teachers, every parent's humanity to their fullest. Thank you.
Well, I had a busy time again. The day after our last board meeting, I went to Delta View for their back to school night. That place is packed. I can see why they need the sheriffs up there in the morning because the cars were parking everywhere. But families came out. They were excited. There was even some kids that came back looking for the middle school kids looking for their teacher from last year that they wanted to say hi to. So that was fun. I also went to Riverview Middle School and to Shore Acres, not Shore Acres, to Riverviews, Wrens, and Sun Terraces open back to school nights, and Rio Vista. What's really clear is that everybody's got the same message. And I was at Holbrook last night, but I'm saving you for last for a reason. So, but it's very clear. The message is clear from all administrators. One thing I'm amazed it's a packed house wherever you go. The parents are showing up. The kids are all excited, and they're telling the parents the kids need to be here. If they're not here, they're not learning. It's just really, really good to see everybody sharing the same message across the district. Excites me. But when I went to Holbrook, the principal there was kind enough to give me the pen because it's their 10-year for reopening. And I thought about back when I was I think it was first or second meeting on the board when it was closed, they were doing a subcommittee to look at reopening Holbrook. And I volunteered right away. As many of you know, for a lot of years, I was an instructional assistant in the district. And at that time, they were always bumping us around. And I was at Bel Air and had been bumped out of a position at Bel Air and ended up at Holbrook for a couple of weeks. And it's just really a gem of a school that's tucked over there. And then a position opened at Bel Air. So my kids naturally wanted me to come back because they were still in elementary school. But it was really hard for me to leave because it was such a neat school. So to see them there thriving and doing great things and being what we dreamed it could be, I wore my buttons so I wouldn't forget, because I forget last time to share that it was your 10-year anniversary. So that's a big success as well. And then this morning, I went over to Adult Ed where they were welcoming back their staff and having them do a scavenger hunt and get excited and decide about what the year is going to be. But again, even with it being Adult Ed, we're all on the same page. We know what we need to do. We've got a good leader to take us where we need to go. And as long as we keep that in mind and keep moving forward, I think we're going to have a really good year, Dr. Clark. So I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you. And so just, I think it's always very important just to go back to really what grounds us. And so, in that goal one, that all students, I think that's something that we're going to continue to stand by. And I think in goal two, that highly qualified, culturally proficient, and responsive staff. And then also just the families and communities that they're going to be informed and empowered. And so those are things that we continue to strive for. We may not hit the mark every single time, but that is our goal. And then here is where we have looked at our students, our different programs that have not, where those students have not been successful, or where those programs have not hit certain metrics. And so we are calling them out and putting them front and center so that we can put more resources and time and effort into making sure that we bring them up. And of course, we're in differentiated assistance. And so CCE is assigned to support our district along with the Contra Costa County Office of Ed. And this is our sort of symbol that we follow. So what I'm going to talk about here is this is pretty much how we measure student outcomes, right? Either chapter tests, class projects, class assignments. That's one big chunk. Then we have standardized tests and assessments. Then we have attendance, citizenship, participation, and everything else. And from those three areas is really how we can see the whole student and really get those student outcomes. And so what I'm going to talk about tonight is our standardized assessments. And I've shared this slide before. These are the different kinds of assessments and data that's out there, whether it's a quantitative data, which lives in the numbers and statistics, or whether it's the qualitative data, which is usually a survey or an interview. But those are ways that we measure our students. So I'm going to share our preliminary CAF scores, our California Standardized Test scores. It's preliminary because the state doesn't certify it until end of September, mid-October, and that's just too long. But once our students finish the exam, the results go to the state, and then the state certifies those individual results, and then we get them back, and then we're then able to draw conclusions from that data. And so I'm sure Martha Thomas is here. She could go into all the technical things, but that's the layman's version, which I like to really live in the layman's area so I don't confuse people. So we've had these results since June. And so all of our principals got them. They all did a exit interview with myself and other leaders, where they talked about their scores, they talked about their plans, they talked about if they hit the mark or if they didn't. If they did hit the mark, they shared why and how. If they didn't hit the mark, they talked about what they were going to do to put themselves and put their schools in better situations. We also we have principals and administrators at every single school. We also have an army of TOSAs, which are teachers on special assignment. So those are our own teachers who we've hired to be on special assignment to go out and support teachers and support learning. We also have TISP coaches, which is our teacher induction program. Those are for our first and second year teachers. And we've hired a group of teachers who go and work with those particular teachers. And then we also have EL TOSAs, who are teachers within our district who we've pulled out of the classroom and hired, and they go and help with the EL implementation throughout the district. And so those are some of the people of support that we send out, aside from our directors and things of that nature. We also, at every site, every elementary site, we have an instructional leadership team, which consists of the principal and then either a grade level representative, or in the secondary, it might be a department chair. And those ILTs, which we call them, they also go over this data, they go over practices, they go through professional development, they plan the professional development. So we really have a lot of systems in place to help the academics throughout the district. And so let's see what happened here. So you can see pre-pandemic, that was the last time that we actually had a valid CAF score, was 2018 to 2019. And you can see we were at 49% and in ELA and math. And that means students who are reading above grade level or at grade level. That's what we measure. So in the world of like where our students live, those are our A-B students. A is exceed, B is met, C is almost met, and D is you still need some work. And we don't give Fs. Maybe it'd be great in this world if we can eliminate Fs. So at least with the standardized tests, we only measure the A's and B's, which is exceeded and met. And I think there's a new term for it, but I won't confuse you. So that's how we've done over the years. So you can see after the pandemic, 21, 22, those years were kind of fluctuating. 23, 24 is when kind of everyone came back. And as you can see, over the years, at least in ELA, we've gone up a couple points the last couple of years, the last 3 years actually. And so we're back a little bit above our pre-pandemic in ELA. In math, you can see that we've gone up basically a point every year since we've been doing testing since the pandemic. So now we're going to see how our schools did. So what you have in front of you is, number one, you have them ranked. That numbers on the left is where they ranked in terms of growth. We wanted to measure growth. And so then you have the school, and then the first column is 24-25. So that's not last year's data, it's the year before last year's data. And then you have 25-26, which is last year's data. And then you have the growth. And so we really wanted to focus on steady improvement across the board. And again, you can look at the overall numbers, and you can see what schools really need some work, really need some support, things of that nature. And you can see ones that really took off. And so you can see we have 15 of our elementary schools showed growth, and the scores range anywhere from 84.3% down to, I believe our lowest is 11.5. So that really is a wide range within our schools. But what I will point out is that within schools in Pleasant Hill or Walnut Creek or Concord or Bay Point, you see growth from those schools. And again, the total number is something else, but you can at least see these are the schools that grew. Now, the 13 schools that went down, you can see where they started, and you can see where they went down. So going from 24-25 to 24-26, you can see our highest on this page of schools that went down. We had a school that was at 70%. Well, they dropped a point, and our lowest school would be at looks like it's 13.5. So again, you see the huge range. You see the schools really cover all geographic areas. But what I really want us to focus on is where a school went down is an area where you can rest assured that principal has a plan of how they're going to address it. One of the best ways to be able to address this is the state adopted curriculum being used at grade level within those particular classes. That's like the number one indicator. Our teachers work extremely hard to implement and to use those materials and to do the assessments and to study their assessments and to continue to push kids who are already meeting goals, but then also to bring up the others to that grade level area. So this is ELA for elementary school. Then we go to math and ELA. Now, 18 of our elementary schools showed growth in math. Again, you can see we went all the way from 10 points of growth all the way down to 0.2 points. And our highest school is 82%, and our lowest is 14%. So you can see that's a pretty big range, but you can see some pretty big growth targets there. And just calling out Mountain View for growing 10 points. They also grew in ELA 9 points there. So some good work was done there. And again, I get in trouble when I start calling out individual schools, so I'll stop right there. But you can see the amount of schools that showed growth in math. And then you can see the schools that went down either half a point or went down close to 9 points in math. And so the range on this page, 71%, 12%. So again, there's a huge range. Now let's take a quick look at middle school. All of our middle schools but one showed growth. So I think this is, I believe this is the second year in a row that this happened. It's just a different middle school now that I'm going to have to, the principal is going to, every time I show these numbers, that principal is going to get that much more motivated and stuff to get his or her name off that list. But you can see some growth there. And again, we can see the range there. Foothill at 70, well, no, Diablo View, 76%, and lowest is 24%. So Is that right? No, 21%. So that's middle school in ELA. This is middle school in math. Not quite the growth in middle school math as with ELA, but you can see the highest there is 65%, and the lowest is 8%. So again, as President Mason named, that if you go to back to school night, if you go and talk to your principal, you're going to hear your principal tell you exactly where they were, what their plan is, what they're doing. I highly encourage parents to talk to their principal, talk to their teacher, talk about their students' individual scores and what they can do at home to support these efforts, and actually what's taking place at school to support these efforts. Let's look at our high schools. You can see the high schools show some growth. I'm not picking on Prospects. Prospects, they only had a few students take the test, so like 1 or 2 students can make a huge difference. And so I did talk to the principal about that though, and did, let him know that that we had work to do, and he was open and willing to do that work. But you can see some growth there over at Northgate. We're at a high at 82%, and the next lowest would be 8.3. And so that is ELA in the high school level. And then this is math high school. And again, same as with middle school, same as with some of the elementaries, is that, we still see some schools that are going down a bit in math. And yes, you see Olympic down there, very low. You see Prospects down there. And obviously they're in our LCAP goals that we're calling out, saying that those schools need extra support. But you can see where our high schools are in math. Then what I did is third grade is kind of that indicator of, where are students at third grade. So this is just third grade in any of these districts. So some third grade, there might be 1 third grade class in there. There may be 4 third grade class, depending on the size of the school. But this is what those particular third graders, what the third grade group did in 24-25, and then what the third grade group did in 25-26. When our principals come and present, they show like what last year's third graders did, who are now 4th graders, or then who are 5th graders, and they show that trajectory so we can see that growth. But you can see here, out of our 29 middle schools, 11 showed growth, and one of them was fairly even. And this is third grade. And again, to see a 40-point growth, like what's going on there? Like what happened? How did we get that at Mountain View, or to see the 17? And so those are the conversations that we're having. Here goes the next third grade group. So this is where we saw a dip, and that is I don't know, it's 16 of our elementary schools went down in ELA third grade. You can see some pretty big numbers there. I can tell you, the Ayers principal, the Westwood principal, Sunterra's principal, Silverwood principal, Valhalla, they all are working on this. We got a new principal at Ignacio Valley Elementary, and she's raring to go. So anyway, we are addressing these and working hard to see what's going on in third grade. I did put third grade math in there. So 14 schools, well, 13 showed growth, and 1 was just even. And you can see an 18-point growth there, down to a 1 point or 0 growth at Walnut Acres. But they're at 85%, and our lowest is at 18%. And then we'll look over here at math. Again, you can see the math. You can see the big numbers of dips. And so, again, I keep saying it, our principals are aware. The principals shared all this with their staff, shared this with their teachers, shared this in the ILT. And from what my understanding is, everyone is working to improve student outcomes. And again, it's just a third of what it is that we measure, but it is a measurement. As this board knows, this is our end of the year tests. So like these students have already moved on. They have new teachers this year. They're in new grade levels, maybe even new schools. But in order to keep up during the year, we do the Star Renaissance 3 times a year that we're currently doing right now. So that window's open. Our participation numbers are way up, which is great. And so we're really looking for that connection between Star Renaissance and CAFs and seeing if we're able to, like, if a school or grade level goes way up in Star Renaissance, but then is not meeting it in CAFs, where is that disconnect? One of the things we noticed from the ELA from the ELA CASP was that they have a writing portion in there that our students did not do great in. And so we see that we are going to, really start also emphasizing writing. When we walk into classrooms, we also have a walkthrough tool that we use. And when we walk into classrooms, we want to know if there's state level materials being used. Are there grade level materials being used? Are students talking to one another? Are they working in groups, or are they just sitting there, working on a worksheet or working alone, or are they just listening to a lecture and stuff like that? And again, all are okay, but in moderation. But we want our students talking to one another. We want our students engaging with each other and having that discourse. The other thing we look at is it a warm environment? When students, if it's passing period and kids come in, are they greeted with the good morning? Are they hey, how's it going? What's going on? Is it a warm, welcoming environment that aligns with our LCAP? The other thing I just wanted to highlight, which which is a way that we have to measure our students, is these are all of our student groups that we have to report to the state. And so we have our ethnicity, we have our language fluency, disability status, economic status, and gender. And so if you look at our ethnicities, if you go down the list and you look for students who are performing at the highest and look at students who are performing at the lowest, and then that's how you start building your systems of targeting. How are we going to make sure that our students who are getting it continue to get it and continue to grow and continue to exceed, but the students who aren't, how are we then going to address those things and bring them up? And again, it's not any old school drill or kill or give them a packet of worksheets or anything like this. Like, you have to establish relationships with students. They have to trust you. They have to know that you care about them. You have to teach in different ways. You have to pull multiple assessments from them and multiple examples of knowledge of work and things like that. So if we just go down our list, we see that our Black and African American students are at 10%. We see that our Pacific Islanders are at 4.8. We see that our Hispanic are at 10. That is a target group right there of groups that we have to make sure that we're paying close attention to. We're not giving them extra money. We're not giving them extra privileges. We're not doing anything like that. We're just paying extra close attention to them. As we go down that list, we have our language fluency. You see students who have been reclassified, you see where they are scoring. And so you can see the IFEP, you see where they are, you see where our RFEP are, you see where our English learners are. I mean, 4% there, a lot of work there. English only students, you see where they all fall. Then when you get to disability, so students who have a disability or have an IEP, whose parents send them to school wanting them to do well and wanting them to be liked in their class and liked by their teacher and liked by their principal and be part of the school, you see that 5% of those students are advanced, 11% are proficient, for a total of 16%. I think that is lower than any other group on there except our English learners. So we want to see our students who have an IEP, we want to see special attention to those students this year. We want to see growth within those students. This data has not changed over the years. It's not acceptable. I don't accept it. As a superintendent, I take responsibility for every single thing on this sheet. It's my responsibility to ensure that things get implemented and that we do things. And the last thing I'm going to do is point out a student group or a student with a disability and blame and point fingers. I'm not going to do that. I'm always going to run towards the fire and see what I can do to help. And so we see our students with disability statuses. You also can see the difference between our economically disadvantaged students and our not economically disadvantaged. 36% of our economically disadvantaged score advanced or proficient. 61% of our not economically disadvantaged students. I mean, so it's almost double the performance rate there. So we got to make sure that we're meeting the needs of students who are economically disadvantaged. Then you can go down and you can look at male, females, non-binary, and you can see where they fall. So this is an important paper. I know I've just focused on ELA, but you go over to math and it's the same, you know, it's the same breakdowns almost. And so yeah, we really want to focus on this. We really want to ensure that this is taking place in the classroom. I know this is my responsibility. It falls on me, but every single employee who draws a check from the Mount Diablo Unified School District has impact on these numbers. Every single one. There's not one person who is not connected to this. So that's what we need to understand. It's not all on our teachers. It's not all on our principals. It's not all on the secretary. It's not all on whoever, but we all have to be on the same page. That's why I go over these LCAP goals every single time. That's why all of our administrators do. That's why we share it in our meetings. That's why when we met with cafeteria staff, we brought up the LCAP goals. When we met with M&O staff, we brought up the LCAP goals. When we meet with our fiscal department, we bring up the LCAP goals. Everyone is working towards that same goal. Are we there yet? No, we're not. And again, the board evaluates me. I gave these numbers to the board as part of my evaluation, and I will continue to do the work and you know, take the criticism, take the suggestions or whatnot. But we've adopted all new materials. We have every piece of data monitoring system you can imagine. We have a new assessment system. You know, every single employee got a raise. We have everything set up. So like now the work just needs to continue to happen, and it is happening. Even in our schools where the scores went down, that doesn't mean that there was not learning at that school. It doesn't mean that there wasn't high quality teaching at those schools. There was. So this is an area that we're going to continue to work on. A really bright spot, one of our goals last year, and the reason why we're making students with an IEP a major goal this year is because last year we made our multilingual learners a goal. And you can see from over the years, first of all, reclassification numbers. It went from 527 to 708 all the way up to over 1,000. So that happens with focus and making sure that we're all on the same page to meet those numbers. Going down to our biliteracy awards, right? 24, 25, you can see the numbers, 373, 267, 340. Then you drop down to last year, 404, 485, 344. We outperformed the year before almost double in some areas. And so that's a tremendous feather in our cap. We have over 1,000 newcomer students who have been in our schools or have been enrolled in U.S. schools for 3 years or less, over 1,000. And then the increase of percentage of multilingual learners making progress on the LPAC to at least 50%. You can see the numbers. Each year it's gone up. It was 45%. Then we took a dip down to 43, and then we went all the way up to 51%. So when you set goals and you're relentless in going towards those goals, then you know, 8 times out of 10 or the majority of the time you can meet it. There's a lot of factors that play into place. Chronic absenteeism is one of those things. If students aren't at school, they cannot learn. So we need our students at school each and every day. And you know, schedule your doctor's appointments after school, all those types of things don't go on that trip in the middle of the week or something like that. So we need our kids here each and every day so we can continue to serve them. So with that, that's the data end of of my superintendent's report. I just have a couple of other announcements. First of all, I just want to just address. We did do some construction over at College Park today. We did remove the press box. When I found out about the press box on August 4th, we immediately had to put things in place. I knew as soon as I heard about it that it was unauthorized, and that means that it did not go through the state Department of Architecture. It didn't get their approval. It didn't go through, its DSA approval. Essentially, it was built without our knowledge, without our approval. We have other things to look at in terms of bleachers, in terms of electricity. If you're gonna have a unit that has people in it, I mean, the press box was a nice press box, but you can't just build a structure on a school site that's going to be used by people. And so so unfortunately we had to take it down. I'm liable if someone were to go in there and get hurt, or if that thing were to catch fire, or if there was an earthquake and that thing were to fall over. Safety is always first, and I understand that there's not a press box there. There has never been a press box, and I empathize for them. But it doesn't excuse going and doing non-authorized projects, and especially as a school, we have to be ultra careful of the things that we build on our sites because of students. And then just also, College Park is dealing. Well, we're dealing with a Title IX finding where we had to go in a settlement, and we have to basically rectify the wrong that has been done to our female athletes at College Park over the years. And that we're building a new softball field. We're upgrading the locker rooms. Um, there's all kinds of other things that we need to do at the school. So we are investing money in it, but what we can't have is unauthorized activities by parent organizations. And so we've had to hire folks internally to be able to monitor that process. We're paying a lot of money to the attorneys on the other side who brought the lawsuit towards us, and so we just have to make sure that all of our boosters are aligned with the rules around Title IX. And I'm not saying that the press box favors the boys over the girls or anything like that, but what it is when there's unauthorized work, we don't have the opportunity at the bare minimum to see if it falls within the Title IX settlement that we have to abide by. So again, I'm sorry that some people's hard work and resources had to get torn down. Always happy to work with folks going forward. But with that said, any questions from the board, I'd be happy to answer. I know that the data on this presentation, I'm gonna share out with our community for people who aren't on this meeting. It is posted on our board agenda under the superintendent's report. It is posted there now, and people can access it. And if folks have questions, go and talk to those at your schools.
Dr. Clark, could you just address one of the comments earlier was around there had been a previous structure built at College Park and what the difference, if any, would be in terms of what's allowed to stand and why action had to be taken immediately with this new structure?
Yeah, what I saw, I mean, I didn't know of anything else being built. I saw a platform with an easy up over it and stuff, and so I didn't know. I've never seen any sort of structure or something that was built there previously. But again, like there's a process to do these things, and yeah, and it's a lengthy process. Over the summer, we painted several schools. We're putting in new arrays all throughout the district. We put in a turf field over at one of our high schools. We had all sorts of construction projects and maintenance projects over the summer, and so So that's where the majority of our resources were this summer. But I don't know of any previous structure that was over at College Park. That's news to me. But again, I don't know every single thing over the years what's happened over there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Clark.
Thank you.
I guess that takes us to the consent agenda. Anybody have anything they want to pool and discuss, comment on? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion from trustee Lawrence.
Second.
Second, trustee Soto. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
And with 14.27 being pulled. Right.
Took care of that at the beginning. Okay. And that passed with 4-1 with consent from our. What? Oh, so I don't know what we do about that.
Who wants to revote?
Did you revote, Laura? You did that.
And look at that. There you go, all fixed. With consent from our student trustee. Okay, that takes us to business and action items. 17.1. Report on district-wide solar photovoltaic system assessment findings. Dr. Clark.
Yes, Melanie Kozlow is gonna present this. We've had some requests to well, first of all, when we did the Schneider project, we learned that a large portion of our solar panels were not working properly. We had a request to do an audit. An audit was done over the spring and summer. We got that report back. I know at the next meeting, we're bringing someone from the company who did the audit to talk about next steps and sort of what can happen going forward. But just to go over the key areas of the findings, Ms. Kozlow is going to present that to this board. Ms. Kozlow.
Good evening, board members, student board member. Tonight I'm here to provide an informational update on the district's solar photovoltaic system assessment completed following the board's approval back in March with SunUp Solar Tech Services. The purpose of tonight is to share the results of this assessment and provide the overview of the current conditions of our solar inverter fleet and then outline the next steps. We're not asking for any action from the board tonight. This is purely informational. I'll start with a quick reminder of the assessment. So back in March, the board took action of a contract with SunUp to conduct a comprehensive inspection of our district solar system. As we've shared in the past and as we've learned sort of in some prior presentations, whether that be through bond presentations or prior board presentations, we knew that our solar system was not functioning as it had several years ago. And we also knew that Sun Power, our original contractor and then maintenance vendor, had filed bankruptcy and we're working through those processes. So we initiated the work because we needed a much clearer understanding of exactly how our system was operating. And so SunUp completed an assessment at 51 of our sites. And so the reason I say 51 is not every single one of our sites have solar. We have a few that the electrical draw didn't quantify installing the solar. And so within those 51 sites, we have 77 inverters. The assessment has given us a baseline so that we can begin developing a coordinated strategy for repairing to address the systems as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, the assessment confirmed what potentially previously had been notified, that we had a significant amount of equipment that was currently offline. So district findings. So of the 77 inverters, 31 are currently running, but 46 are not. That means that 60% of the district's expected inverter fleet is currently not producing power, right? Okay, just straight up, that's where we're at. Another significant finding is that 21 of the 51 sites assessed currently have all of their inverters down, because some of our sites have numerous inverters. And so what essentially that means is that approximately 4,005 kilowatts are online compared to 7,860 kilowatts that are offline. So the assessment confirmed that this is not an isolated equipment issue. At a handful of schools, we have a significant district-wide repair need, and it needs to be addressed systematically. The assessment also helped us better understand what's causing those outages. So the root causes, as you can see by this chart, there's not one single cause of why the inverters are down. Our largest issue identified is ground faults, which is affecting 14 of our inverters. And the next largest category is just like a power electronic failure or a power supply failure. There's also a small number of contactors with switch issues, thermal events, missing components, and other conditions. An important point is that not every repair can be priced immediately. 6 of our sites need further investigation because they weren't within one of the original or the main items that we were able to troubleshoot. So SunUp has documented these conditions at an individual site and inverter level for us. So site level findings, the conditions vary considerably from site to site, as I previously shared, and even between inverters at the same site. Some inverters are down for one issue, some are down for the other. We have systems but we also have systems that are operating normally, and systems that may have recommended maintenance or operational needs that were covered under our SunPower agreement that we'll have to plan for. Inverters that are completely non-operational have been identified as a repair need. I do want to share that when I spoke or when I met with SunUp, they are not recommending an inverter replacement of any of the inverters. They have a full and complete understanding that all of our inverters can actually be repaired. They don't need to be replaced. So what are the next steps? As we move forward from the assessment into implementation, I have contracted with Capital Engineering to provide energy and energy oversight to support the district. So many of you may have heard that name. Many of you have been here at the board where we've done presentations with Capital Engineering. They've been a partner of Mount Diablo for many, many, many years in different roles: mechanical, engineering, resource conservation, consulting, and so we're bringing them back. Capital Engineering will provide technical guidance as we review these findings, evaluate the recommended corrective work, and help determine the appropriate path forward, and help me make recommendations to you. So from here, we have 2 different sort of tracks that we're following. First and foremost, we need to get our inverters back online. We will obtain pricing for the repairs that have already been identified and complete additional troubleshooting with SunUp to figure out those 6 sites that we're still looking through. With the support of Capital Engineering, Chuck Shinneman is our engineer who will be working closely with me. We will evaluate the work and establish the appropriate contracts to move forward with that. Secondly, we also have an issue with the communication. So we are on a SunPower communication controller linked to a dashboard that we no longer have access to. And so separately, but also sort of in the large scope of our financial planning, we are looking at looking at our options to replace the controllers. I have a direction that I would like to go, but I'll be meeting with Chuck Shinneman with Capital Engineering and review those things. And that will allow us to have access to that dashboard. It does not mean that we can't fix the inverters and deal with the visual piece later. Our PG&E bills will show us that when we regain establish the solar production again. But we won't have that immediate dashboard. We don't necessarily have the current manpower to digest all of the invoice or all of the bills that come in. And so while we were looking at an increase, we didn't necessarily have the plan in place to sort of figure it out as quick as we would have hoped to. Again, there's no action tonight. Once we have the pricing and the technical review, we'll come back. So this is the conclusion of my update. The assessment has given us a very clear baseline of the conditions of our solar system with Capital Engineering's technical and energy expertise and oversight. We'll be back in the next few weeks with a follow-up to be able to talk about pricing, to be able to talk about why or when the production started falling off, because I know some of us have mentioned a presentation that took place maybe like a year and a half ago. That's all where Schneider identified that we had some systems that weren't working properly. That's around the same time that we found out about the bankruptcy. And so we've just sort of like from there to here, different inverters that have gone offline. And so with the help of the consultant, we'll be able to really dig deep and figure out timelines for things. But I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we will be back at a future board meeting.
I have a brief question. And the beauty of being a board member, I don't have to know anything about this stuff because you guys do. So I'm just wondering, was there any indication of any of the reasons it's not working have it to do with vandalism, or was it normal wear and tear, or their study didn't really look at that?
Some of it did. There's a few sites that are on like what we call lockout tagout. And so potentially there was some sort of situation that caused, we have like an on-call vendor that when something happened, once SunPower sort of walked away from us. And so there were different things like baseballs hitting the solar panel that sort of spider webs it. The rain gets in it in the winter, and then the sun comes out and there's still water sort of like within the array, and now it acts like a magnifier and almost starts like a little fire. And so we had to, so that's where you may have seen like a little burnout in some of the solar panels. And so those are on lockout tagout. And so do we consider that vandalism? But it's a cause, and so those systems are down for the safety component because district electricians don't work on our solar systems because that's not within their contract, and we had a vendor up until all of this took place.
Thank you.
So with the SunPower bankruptcy, do we presume that the warranty is completely gone? Did anybody else take over SunPower through the bankruptcy process that might provide some benefit for us with the warranty?
So one of the things that before the bankruptcy happened, there was some sort of, and I apologize for not having all the technical details. There was another company that came in and was either buying or combining or something with SunPower. And so we were working for a short time with Total Energy, but my understanding is that all of that is done with the bankruptcy. Through bankruptcy court, we had some vendors that we were recommended to go to. Many of those got overwhelmed and are already not providing commercial. I will say that with some conversation and some things that we're looking at and some things that I'll be discussing with Capital Engineering and with Suzanne is I've recently heard about 2 public entities that worked with a vendor that assumed the prior maintenance contract. And so we're going to look at that sort of being an option. Obviously, it's nothing that I've ever had experience with, so I'll be working with Suzanne on that. But no one has quite figured it out yet. Our system is so big that it's like even the people that I do have relationships with SunPower, they're dealing with 5 and 6 sites. We're dealing with 51, and so hopefully what we're discovering here will maybe help some of our other districts.
And it's my understanding that there were many school districts that were affected by the SunPower bankruptcy.
Many school districts, many other public entities, and many residential customers, yes.
What I recall in particular was because I'm at the County Office of Education frequently, they had a um, panel that showed their real-time electricity production. And that was shut down about the same time that our system went down.
Agreed. Yeah, we used to have that access too. And so you could go and look at the district as a whole, or at the very beginning when it was new and fresh and really fun, we could have it up on the site by sites website, so that we could see what we were creating. And so hopefully we'll be able to get that visual back at some point and re-energize the fact that as utilities continue to go up and up and up, let's fix our systems and let's get our savings.
Thank you.
So I would also like to understand just what the fiscal impact of this has been over the last few years in terms of part of the promise to the community with the solar was that the reduction in PG&E bills would benefit the general fund. And so I would like to understand for the last few years what the increase has been in our expenditure with PG&E. And I'd also like to understand going forward, what is the dynamic between M&O and finance in terms of oversight and monitoring and making sure that we don't have any sort of repeat, or that basically we understand if there is a similar type of situation much sooner, and we're able to address that.
Absolutely. Having a comprehensive lost revenue or expense offset is something that will be coming in the next presentation when I have some time to get some support to make sure that my data and everything is correct and getting that input. So that as well as I will address your question regarding the fiscal oversight at our next presentation.
So this is really a two-part report then. Next time we get together, we'll hear the solutions or what they propose.
Yeah, I mean, so we already sort of know what they propose. We have several different things that we have to look at. One is like contracting requirements. We have to look at, the fiscal impact. What is our loss versus what is our cost to repair all the inverters? Do we do the inverters first and then plan for the dashboard in a future fiscal year? We have all of those things to look at. But I will just say that, the what we have learned from this assessment is the cost of our systems being down is significant. The cost to bring them up is also going to be significant, but that's the direction that we'll bring forward next time. And so it'll be a few different things. And then also we've had some questions, I believe from you, Mr. McDougall, just about some of the other conservation things, Star Energy and all that. And we'll bring all that forward in that next presentation as well.
Yeah, this is a disappointing report. What was it? 60% are not performing. Why did it take us so long to figure that out? That's my question. It seems like we're talking 18 months, maybe 2 years, and I'm sure we got bills from PG&E. In fact, I've heard that it ranges from $250,000 more per month to as much as $400,000 more per month. That's $3 to $5 million a year. That's a hit on our general budget because we're spending more and we are dependent on the solar power. Why didn't it appear earlier? That's my question. Why are we hearing about it now when we should have known about this? Okay, the company went belly up, but still we were getting bills at much more than we were used to paying. So I would have imagined that would have raised red flags to us earlier than we're hearing right now, 2 years earlier, at least.
I think just to respond, utility in general has gone up quite a bit. We knew that some of our systems were not functioning. We did not know the severity. And I think that when we started this conversation to where we finished the assessment, more inverters went down. And the deeper dive that I'm going to take before our next presentation. I think the number is probably somewhere annually around $2 million more than anticipated, not 3 to 5, but we'll also sort of pinpoint that. We do a lot of talk in production and consumption versus dollar, but we're going to try to bring it forward in a dollar amount. But what we pay for utility today is not what we're going to pay July 1. It's not what we're going to pay January 1. But I just want to say that it is significant, but I don't believe as significant as you're sharing. And
Well, the 2 million that you're talking about is what we're paying in excess power bills. And now you're also talking about repair bills that are going to come along that will get us those inverters back online. You
which
say we don't have to replace
which
them.
will immediately lower our utility. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're looking at a good chunk of change here that, and everybody knows our power bills are going up. I mean, I get solicited every few weeks by solar power companies and promising the world and, you know, that sort of thing, that PG&E is going to have increases of rates of 40% and more, that sort of thing. So we know that's the case. So we have to be more alert, I believe, to what's happening to our systems now and for the past couple of years, apparently. And that's what I hope will be a wake up call to us.
Agreed.
And I also think that when we look at bond issues, I think we need to have better management. And this is not a reflection on you. I think the district has to realize where they don't have the expertise and hire either people on staff or outside people, project managers, that would manage these things and see these problems earlier. So I'm just suggesting that when we look at the bond issues for the future, we take the big contracts that are going to come up and we hire somebody on staff that has the expertise so we don't run into these sort of problems.
Yeah. And just to share, we do have a project management firm that works for the facilities department. So we do have that on our construction projects. And in order to, you know, move forward with the future bond, we would also do an RFP for, you know, the process that we have to go through to see who's out there. But I just want to assure you that while we don't have our facility project managers looking at the solar, because solar was installed such a long time ago, I want to assure you we do have a professional project management firm on contract with the district.
And this is an outside firm you're referring
Correct.
to,
Sixth
not
Dimension.
Capital Engineering.
No, we have Sixth
Okay.
Dimension or 60 PMCM, and we do have a current contract with
Okay.
them.
As far as you bring that up, I think that the study's been made on looking at project management, and it looks like it might be as high as 15% of a bond measure to hire project managers if we hire outside companies. They also looked at what it would cost us to hire on-staff people, and the cost was probably 10% lower. So we're looking at 4 to 5% as opposed to 15, 14.
A little
14
closer to about
50%.
9% of project management for an outside firm, somewhere between 7 to 9%. The district has been set up both ways, both in-house. I actually joined the district as an in-house project manager many moons ago. And so I believe in that. I think that when we look at the reality of bonds are shorter term and the long-term commitment, salary prevents us from hiring maybe to the level that we can get from a firm who can bring in.
I
Sometimes I have
understand
an
that.
assistant.
So we'd have to
manager or
look at the
something.
cost of outside as opposed to inside.
Agreed.
And I think if we hired somebody inside, we say this is for the term of the bond,
That-
for the term of the
That's how I
project.
was hired.
And there's no promise of future employment, that sort of thing involved in it. I can
Did I
understand.
understand you're coming back with a second report?
Correct.
Right. So
Either-
this is basically to tell us where we are, and then
Yes.
the next
So
report will launch
I
us
have
where we need to
yeah,
go next.
I have sent everything to Chuck at Capital Engineering, all of the things. He has access to our PG&E. He and I have our first meeting at the beginning of the week. So I would love to say I'll be here on September 9th, but I might need until the 23rd.
It would behoove us to wait and get more information. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, 17.2, review and potential approval of revisions to board policy and administrative regulations 1330, use of school facilities. Revisions made. We have one public speaker. Do we want to hear from our speaker first? That's what I was thinking. Melanie first. No problem.
Okay, so sorry about that. We made a last minute change and my notes changed a little bit. So good evening. Thanks for having me back. So board policy and administrative regulation 1330 are returning tonight for their second showing and consideration for approval. The overall purpose of the revisions remain the same: to modernize our facility use program, establish clearer eligibility and fee classifications, and to provide greater consistency in how we administer the community's use of our facilities. Before the board takes action, I do want to make one recommended change, because we made a few changes from the first showing to the second showing. And so on the second page of the board policy, on the third page, sorry, we crossed out item 3, automatic tournament and special meet default, from what you saw last meeting, and rewrote some language. We're actually going to go back to just that section, automatic tournament and special fee meet default. And so the recommendation would be, if you approve this board policy change tonight, that it's with that change. Following additional review, we are recommending that we return to the language that we provided last time regarding this language, and remove the revised sort of blanket classification currently shown in the policy. The reason for that is that under the language, a tournament, multi-team event, track and swim meet, shootouts, that sort of thing, automatically default to tier 4. The approach that we're looking at, and I think that, just to be very clear to you as board and to our community, our rental rate is our classification 4, right? How much is it to rent a classroom? $20 or $40. How much is it to rent a pool? $140 an hour. And then there's certain items, boxes to check, that make it so that you qualify for a discounted rate, or for our school sites, obviously, and our school affiliated boosters and VAPAs and all of that, you get the facility for free because you qualify. But the approach of changing to the automatic tournament and special meet language purely focuses on events where additional entry fees are created. When we have an event where there's 1,500 participants over a 2 or 3 day period, it's harder on our systems. It's more chemical, it's more water loss, it's more custodial service and all of that. And so we're just trying to be more transparent in our facility, while still supporting our facilities are here to support youth activities. So that's what the modification is. That's what it represents for both the board policy and the AR. And then I'm here for if there's any questions.
Would you repeat the location of the language that you're changing that's on the docket?
So on the printed,
I can help you out here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you go to page 3,
Of the board policy or the AR?
Board policy.
of the board policy, go to page 3. And if you go, there are 2 bullets because one has been stricken. And then you go to number 3. there was language that was stricken out. What Melanie's proposing is that that stricken out language be actually put back in, and that the tournament and multi-team events, the new section 3 gets removed. Which means that in order to automatically default to category 4, you only do that if it's where there's a entry buy-ins, user tournament registration fees, or spectator gate fees are collected, and that's according to the ed code.
So just let me repeat this, if I may. The number 3 that is struck is being re-entered, and the 3 that was added is being struck.
Correct.
Thank you.
Tatiana, that's the witch.
Hi, I'm back. Trying to adjust. I'm glad that it was considered, that changes were considered. I still think there are legal issues. There are several, they're complex. I sent a detailed legal memo to the district council, so hopefully you will ask the details of that memo and whether, in the opinion of your attorney, the policy complies with Education Code 38-134. I don't think it does. But also, I would like to talk to policy because you are policymakers. There's nothing in the law that says that athletic events have to be charged at this rate. In fact, there's still, if you have a PTA tournament, you're still violating the law. And this Melanie says that it takes more energy, more staff. We pay for staff. When we have a pool event, we pay per staff. They ask us how many people will attend, and they say you need 2 custodians or 4 custodians or however many custodians. The pool is heated at the same rate. We already pay. And tier 3 is direct cost. You recoup all the direct costs. Tier 4 is extra. I'm not entirely sure that tier 4 is fair rental value as legally defined, but that's a legal issue. But I don't believe that you want to charge youth events more. Because when we do a fundraiser, we do it for the children so they can get in the water, so the kid from Concord with a single parent can afford to swim. I don't believe it is your policy to deny them that. And staff can make a recommendation, but they should provide the pros and the cons. And you should make the policy and you should discuss. And I would hope that you explain to me, the swimming community, the soccer community, all of the athletic youth community, why this policy? Why this active choice for athletic events? How is it different from any other event that has 500 people? Thank you.
Thank you.
So your oh my gosh, I can't think of the right word. The ed code. I don't know what the question was. The Civic Center Act.
Sorry, are you asking?
So I think on the comment is that it doesn't apply.
So the Civic Center Act does apply, and the Civic Center Act lays out times when you can charge a fair rental value. And I believe that the policy that Melanie's presented with the revision does comply with that. It's obviously up to the board when it actually, there is a section in there that actually specifically says shall, and that section. Oh my goodness. You want me to look up the specific section? It's
No, I do understand the difference between may and shall,
Yes.
and that's an important
so
one.
there is a specific section in the ed code, specifically that addresses, when organizations are collecting fees or profits, then you are supposed to charge fair rental value.
When the renting organization is collecting fees,
I'm gonna
then
I'm gonna pull up the ed code right now for you. How's that? 3814. I'm pretty sure it's
So wait,
3814.
I just want, yeah, 38134, again, the Civic Center Act, which is part of Ed Code, is for our facilities for youth. And so they identify four main things: Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Scouts of America, YMCA, all of that stuff, parent teacher associations, a school community advisory council. And then the fourth specific language is recreational youth sports league that charge participants no more than a nominal fee, and they identify a nominal fee of no more than $60 per month. And so $60 per month is inexpensive. It's affordable to our youth recreation. And so it's not high competition. It's not, even if, and I'm not here to debate what a family pays for monthly swim, like, we're just, because we're talking about swim, but it's we have basketball leagues that get they qualify, they're a nonprofit, they get the discounted rate for their normal practices and this or that. We're just talking about the tournament style event. But in the end, I mean, I pay $500 for youth recreational baseball for my grandson. We're not following, they're not following the Civic Center Act. And so it's like, because, so that just, it's very clear what a nominal fee is. And so an additional entry fee is the type of event that we're looking, and it's not just swimming. That's just the example we use. It's basketball tournaments, it's baseball tournaments, and all competitive style, non-youth recreational sports events.
So if a group wants to appeal the pricing, what is the process for that? Maybe we're going to have to I'm thinking we're going to have to adopt it and then see where the problems may fall out. And then who would they appeal to? What would be the process? And of course, it would have to be, there's always the problem of establishing a precedent when you do accommodate a certain group for a situation. But what would the,
So
could
we
there
have a
be?
full-time facility use technician, and so all of our users reach out to her. We have already, because we wanted to be very transparent to our community, because the change, if approved tonight, takes place September 1st. And so we have been very transparent and sent out emails to all users that this was coming, because we wanted them to know. And so they would start with the conversation. So our use permit technician has spoken to many different users already. And once we start talking about, like, it's a little bit different, because like a pool, like, we'll just say most swim lap youth swimming is probably paying $70 an hour at College Park or North Gates Pool. Fair market value, or the commercial rate, is 140. So it's double. A little bit different than when we're talking about a classroom at $20 versus $40. But most have, when Sarah goes through the different changes and she explains to them why they might be classified differently now. Some have questions. We have a few that we know we're going to continue to communicate, and so we'll reach out and get some guidance from that. But our belief is that we're bringing ourselves in line with what Ed Code says, and that one big sticking factor is those competitive events when there's just so many users. And so I think that it would start with emailing Sarah, and then we'll work together with guidance. But I don't foresee making an accommodation from one group over the other. Because the reason I'm recommending this is because I believe that it meets the direction that we're following with Ed Code. And I don't want to say how many, like, I haven't looked, but like, are we talking about 5 tournaments a year that are going to affect? You know, I don't, it's not about like what the entry fee is and how many hours and times this or that. But I think if we really look at it, the cost to the host is um, fair for use of our facilities.
I guess one of my concerns would be as someone who used to work in Park and Rec, if our local Park and Rec had a swim meet, it was our local Park and Rec. But if we then let other communities, Concord, or come to our local park and use it free like our kids, no, because you're using your what's the pool supplies and people have to clean it and everything. So my concern would be that unless it's a local swim team that's just practicing, that's our kids, that's one thing. But if you're going to hold a big meet and you're going to get a great deal, we're going to have people from coming all over different places to, hey, this is the best. Because I know from another committee I'm on, Pittsburgh charges lots of money to use any
Lots
of
of
their
other-
fields or anything.
Yep,
and
lots
that's their own kids.
And so one of the things that we corrected back in January, I think, when we did the last change, and that was just to sort of identify the classifications, is we had lots of out of district users. And so we have people driving far to use our facilities. And so now, following the rules and regulations, you can have a Pittsburgh address, but you have to share that you're providing youth activity for your roster has to be 80% Mount Diablo. And then, yeah, you get that tier 3 rate if it's youth activity, nominal fee, all of that. And then otherwise, you can still use our facility, but you're paying commercial rate.
That's why this looks like a good compromise to me.
I move that we approve the revisions to BPAR 1330 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You're making a face.
I didn't hear who made the second. I think it might need to be a board member, actually.
Okay,
So,
I'll
and
second
then-
it.
yeah.
There we go. I'll support you over there, trustee Soto. Okay, so we have a motion by trustee Nzayli, a second by trustee Mason. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that passed 4-1 with consensus from our student trustee. Thank you very much.
I just want to state that the companion document that is the rate sheet had a highlighted section at the header on this go round. At our last board meeting. The salary schedules were approved by the board, and so we did update that custodial and technician rate just to meet the current salary. That's the only change as far as anything on that rate sheet.
And that was like $2.
I think it was maybe 3. I think it went from 65 to it might have been 6, but yeah, a few dollars an hour. Yeah.
So with the board policy we just adopted, does it also change the handbook information?
So the handbook and was presented as a draft. It is different. There's a few changes. I'm going to have to go back and make sure that the draft handbook updates with the change we made with the BP
Policy.
today. And again, the handbook is a procedural thing, and so doesn't necessarily need board approval. But every time we make a change, we will make sure it's identified on when that change was. And if it's significant, I would assume it comes with another board-related item that needs your approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. 17.3, a review and potential approval of changes to board policies and administrative regulations per California School Board Association recommendations, June 2025 quarterly update. This one is for information. 17.4, review and potential approval of changes to board policies and administrative regulations per California School Board Association recommendations, November 2025. This one is on for action because it was on last month for information. So,
Madam President, I move we approve revisions to board policy in AR 6020, parent involvement, and board policy 6143, courses of study as presented.
Second.
who seconded? Okay, we have you looked ready, Brian, so I was just checking. We have a motion by trustee Mayo, a second by trustee McDougall. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0 with consent from our student trustee. Review and potential approval of changes to board policy, administrative regulations per California School Board Association recommendations from November 2025. This is, February. We're on that one, right? We're on 3 or 4? No, 4, right? 5. Okay. So from February 2026, and that one's for action. And there's a lot.
So I move the board approve revisions to board policy 4119.21, board policy 4119.24, board policy 4156.3, board policy 4219.21, 4219.24, 4256.3, 4319.21, 4319.24, 4356.3, 41 or exhibit 4119.21, exhibit 4219.21, and exhibit 4319.21 as presented.
Thank you for that, trustee Mayo.
A hearty second to that.
Sure.
Motion.
No, wait a minute. It's important for us to clearly state what we are approving.
Motion by trustee Mayo, second by trustee Lawrence. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
That's right. Okay, and that will take us that passes 5-0 with consent from our student trustee. That takes us to 17.6, review and potential approval of changes to board policies and administrative regulations per California School Board Association recommendations for May 2026. This is for action. Who wants to take this one up?
I'm to approve the revisions to Board Policy 2110, Superintendent Responsibilities and Duties, AR 1312.4, Exhibit 1312.4. Oh, that's fancy. 1 and 1312.42, Williams Uniform Complaint Procedures, and what is Board BB? Bylaws. Thank you. 9200, Limits of Board Member Authority, as presented.
Second.
Motion by trustee Zawi, second by trustee McDougall. Trustee Soto, how do you vote?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0 with consent from our student trustee. And that takes care of our meeting, but we have lots of resolutions to sign. So we are. Yes, sir.
So a request for a future agenda item.
I wasn't going to ask, but if you want to offer one.
I would just, so I would just ask for a future agenda item, or if the superintendent could include in his report just an update around employee safety, as we heard from CSEA and our teachers this evening. So that would be my request.
So noted. Thank you. On that note, I think we are adjourned.